Chapter 1. The Prayer of Seeking. In the darkest moments of my life, when the path ahead seemed shrouded in a thick fog, I often found myself standing still, hands trembling, heart heavy. These were the times I didn't know where to go, what to do, or even what to believe in. Life, with all its surprises and challenges, sometimes felt like a maze with no exit. Yet, in that confusion, I learned to bow my head and whisper prayers of seeking not for immediate answers, but for a guiding light, however faint, from God. I recall a cold, rainy evening when devastating news struck like a knife through the fragile peace of my family. My dearest loved one had just left this world, leaving behind a void nothing could fill. I sat there, on an old chair in the corner of the room, tears falling silently. My mind swirled with questions. Why now? Why them? Where is God in all of this? But my lips couldn't form the words. I felt lost, like a small boat adrift on a vast, endless ocean. Then, as if guided by an instinct deep within my soul, I closed my eyes and began to pray. It wasn't the eloquent prayers I'd heard in church, but clumsy, broken words. Lord, I don't understand. I don't know what to do. Please show me a way, even just a small glimmer of light. I didn't expect an instant miracle or a voice from above. Yet, in that moment, a strange peace crept into my heart as if someone was listening, understanding, even though I couldn't see them. The prayer of seeking doesn't always bring clear answers. Sometimes, it's like an invisible thread connecting me to God, anchoring me through the storm. I prayed for guidance in big decisions, like when I had to choose between leaving a familiar job to chase a distant dream, or when I stood at the crossroads of broken relationships. I didn't always get obvious signs, but I learned to listen to my heart, where I believe God sends subtle whispers. To me, prayer isn't just words. Sometimes it's silence, a trusting silence, where I lay my worries in God's hands and wait. Once, I walked alone in a park, watching golden leaves drift slowly in the autumn breeze. I said nothing, just opened my soul, a quiet invitation to God, be here with me. And I felt it not through sound or sight, but through a deep peace words can't describe. This first chapter of my faith journey taught me that when I'm lost, I don't need to find perfect solutions right away. What matters is daring to utter a prayer of seeking, however awkward, however simple, and trusting that God, in His infinite love, will guide me through the fog. The path may not appear instantly, but His light is always there, waiting for me to take a brave step forward. Chapter 2. Faith in Pain. There are pains that strike without warning, like a cold wind slicing through flesh, leaving me curled up in emptiness and helplessness. I once thought faith would be a sturdy shield, guarding me from life's wounds. But I've learned that faith isn't immunity from suffering, it's a quiet flame, flickering through my tears, offering strength and comfort in the midst of pain. In those moments, prayer becomes my breath, not to erase the hurt, but to learn to carry it with trust in God. I recall a dark period when my mother's health faded under the weight of an incurable illness. Each day was a battle, not just with the disease, but with the fear gnawing at my soul. I stood by her bedside, watching her frail hands tremble as they held mine, and my heart shattered. I asked, God, if you love us, why is this happening? I was angry, confused, but above all, desperate for something to cling to, a spark of hope in an endless night. That night, as the world fell silent, I knelt by the window, the faint moonlight filtering through rain-streaked glass. I didn't know how to pray, the words stuck in my throat. Finally, I whispered, Lord, it hurts so much. I'm not strong enough to bear this alone. Please give me strength, even just a little. I didn't ask for a miracle to heal her instantly, knowing deep down it might not be His will. But I asked for comfort, for an unseen hand to hold me when my knees buckled. The miracle didn't come as an immediate healing, but as a peace that slowly filled my heart. I remembered the verse, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." And I believed that, though the pain remained, I wasn't carrying it alone. God didn't promise to remove all suffering from my life, but He promised to walk with me through the darkest valleys. My prayer didn't change the circumstances, but it changed me from a soul in despair to one daring to trust that even in suffering, there is light. Some days, the pain wasn't from loss, but from invisible wounds within. I once faced betrayal from someone I trusted most. My heart felt torn apart, and I locked myself in my room, unwilling to face anyone. Yet, in that solitude, I turned to prayer. I didn't ask God to punish the one who hurt me, but to help me rise, to keep my pain from turning into bitterness. "Lord, keep my heart soft, even as it bleeds," I whispered. And slowly, through silent prayers, I felt healing not instant, but gradual, like drops of water refilling a dry well. Praying in pain isn't always comfortable. Sometimes I sobbed through my prayers, other times, I fell silent, out of words. But I learned that God doesn't need perfection. He just needs my heart broken, weary reaching for Him. And each time I placed my pain in His hands, I found the strength to keep going, one small step at a time. This chapter of my faith journey taught me that pain isn't the end, but part of a greater story God is writing for my life. Prayer isn't an escape from suffering, but a bridge drawing me closer to Him, where I find solace and hope. Though my eyes may be wet with tears, my heart holds fast to the belief that, in God's loving hands, every pain has purpose. Chapter 3. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is a beautiful word, but a jagged path I've often wanted to flee. Some wounds in my heart run so deep that even brushing against them stings like the first day. I once thought forgiveness was for the strong, for those with bigger hearts than mine. But through clumsy prayers and moments of weakness before God, I realized it's not something I can achieve alone. It's a gift I must ask Him for, to heal myself and mend the broken ties around me. I recall a time when a close friend's harsh words cut through my pride, leaving an invisible wall between us. I clung to my anger like armor, thinking it would shield me from the pain. But the tighter I held it, the more I felt trapped by it. One night, heavy-hearted in the dark, I couldn't escape a nagging question: if God has forgiven me so many times, do I have the right to hold this grudge forever? I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and prayed, "Lord, I don't know how to let go. My heart still hurts, and I don't want to pretend it didn't happen. Teach me to forgive, even if I'm not ready." It didn't erase the hurt instantly, but it cracked open a door in my soul, a willingness to try. Forgiving others is hard, but forgiving myself has been an even greater challenge. I once made a grave mistake, a rash choice that hurt those I loved. Even as time passed, I couldn't stop punishing myself. Each glance in the mirror showed me a failure, unworthy of love or mercy. But one quiet morning, as sunlight slipped through the curtains, I knelt and whispered, "Lord, I was wrong. I can't change the past, but help me forgive myself so I can live without this burden." Miraculously, through that prayer, a gentle release began, not because my mistake vanished, but because I trusted God saw my remorse and didn't define me by it. I recalled the scripture, "If we confess our sins, He is faithful and just to forgive us." If He forgave me, I had to learn to let go of self-condemnation. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or ignoring the pain. To me, It's like pulling a thorn from my hand, painful to remove, but necessary for healing. Once, I met that friend again. I didn't act as if nothing happened, but I chose to smile and say hello. Beforehand, I'd prayed, "Lord, give me strength not to turn away, to keep my heart open." I realized forgiveness wasn't just a gift for them, but freedom for me. This chapter of my faith journey taught me that forgiveness is an act of trust that God can turn scars into marks of growth. Trust that He's always ready to forgive so I can learn to do the same. Prayer didn't make it easy, but it gave me the courage to walk that road, one small step at a time. Each time I asked God to help me forgive, I felt His love vast enough to embrace even the darkest corners of my heart. Chapter 4. Unconditional Love. Love was something I thought I understood until I realized true love, selfless, boundless, isn't something I can conjure on my own. It's a gift from God, a warm flame I can only feel when I open my heart through prayer. And as I began to grasp His unconditional love, I learned to share it with others, even when it meant pushing past my own limits. I remember a winter afternoon, sitting by the fireplace in my small home, a book slipping from my hands unnoticed. I'd had a tiring day, not from work, but from an emptiness within. I wondered, what am I living for? Does anyone truly care? In that fragile moment, I closed my eyes and prayed simply, "Lord, let me feel I'm not alone. Let me know you love me." I didn't expect a grand reply, but a warmth slowly spread through me like an invisible embrace whispering that I was loved, not for being perfect, but for being me. God's unconditional love is unlike anything I've known in this world. People often love with expectations, a thank you, a return gesture, a condition. But with God, I discovered He loves me even when I fail, when I turn away, when I'm unworthy. Once, I committed a sin I thought would drive Him from me forever. I avoided prayer, ashamed. But one quiet night, unable to bear the silence, I cried out, "Lord, I don't deserve your love, but please don't abandon me." And I felt not judgment, but a deep love pulling me back from the abyss of shame. Feeling that love is one thing, sharing it is another challenge. I had a grumpy neighbor who always complained and kept everyone at a distance. I avoided him like a storm until one day I saw him sitting alone on a bench, eyes vacant. I didn't want to approach, but a quiet voice urged me on. Before stepping forward, I prayed silently, "Lord, give me a piece of your love to share with him, even though I don't want to." I walked over, smiled, and asked how he was. To my surprise, he opened up about his loneliness, and I listened. I didn't change his world, but I believe the small, clumsy love I offered was part of God's boundless love flowing through me. Sharing love isn't always easy. Some days I'm tired, selfish, wanting to keep it all to myself. But when I pray, "Lord, teach me to love as you do," I change little by little. I notice the small things, a kind word for a discouraged coworker, a hug for a crying sibling, or just sitting quietly with someone who needs company. I've learned that when I let God's love flow through me, it heals not just others, but me too. This chapter of my faith journey taught me that unconditional love isn't something I can achieve alone. It's a gift I receive from God through prayer, and one I must learn to give. I don't need to be perfect to love, because He loved me in all my flaws. Each time I pray to feel that love, I'm reminded that in His hands, I'm not just loved, I'm called to be part of that great love in this world. Chapter 5. Hope in Life. Hope is a fragile light, easily dimmed by life's cold winds. Some days, it feels like a candle about to flicker out, especially when facing loss or unanswered questions about life's meaning. But through prayer, I've learned that hope isn't something I create, it's a gift from God, a promise that no matter how thick the darkness, something good awaits me, in this life and beyond death. I recall an evening when I learned of my grandfather's passing. He'd been the one to share stories of faith, of overcoming hardship through trust in God. When he left, part of my world crumbled. I sat by the window, staring at a starless sky, my heart weighed down by fear. What happens after death? Is he truly in a better place, or is it all just a comforting illusion? I didn't want to lose hope, but I didn't know how to hold onto it. In that moment, I turned to prayer, like a lost soul seeking a lighthouse. I whispered, "Lord, I'm afraid. I'm uncertain about what's ahead. Give me hope not just for today, but for the day I face death." I didn't hear a voice from above, but as I closed my eyes, an image came to mind, my grandfather smiling, standing in a field of light. I don't know if it was imagination or something more, but a peace washed over me as if God was reminding me that death isn't the end, but a door to a new beginning. Hope isn't just for life after death, it's the strength to live each day. There were times I felt my life was a meaningless cycle, repetitive work, unfulfilled dreams, quiet sorrows. Once, sitting on a park bench, watching people rush by, I wondered, is it worth going on? But I prayed, "Lord, show me a reason to hope, even something small." Strangely, just then, a little bird landed nearby, singing brightly. It didn't change my situation, but it reminded me that in the simplest things, God sends beauty and hope. Believing in life after death isn't always easy. Some nights, I lie awake, pondering life's fragility, wondering if the Bible's promises are true. But each time I pray, I feel anchored to something greater, a promise that though I can't see the destination, God has prepared a place for me. I recall Jesus' words, "In my Father's house are many rooms." And I trust that even when this life ends, my hope doesn't. This chapter of my faith journey taught me that hope isn't certainty about everything to come, but trust that God holds my future. Prayer is how I nurture that flame, even when it's just a faint glow. I don't need to unravel every mystery of life or death. I choose to pray for God to keep my heart fixed on the light of hope, believing that in His love, a beautiful tomorrow awaits, on this side or the other of life. Chapter 6. Protection and Guidance. Life sometimes feels like a long road filled with unexpected turns and shadowed corners. There are moments I feel like a lost child, unsure which way is right, uncertain if my next step leads to safety or peril. In those times, I turn to prayer, not to ask God to clear every obstacle, but to protect me from what I can't see and guide me through choices I'm not wise enough to make alone. I remember standing at a crossroads, deciding whether to leave my hometown for a new life far away. The thought thrilled and terrified me. I didn't know if I had the strength for what lay ahead or if it was the right path. The night before my decision, I sat at my small table, a dim lamp casting light on a page of scattered thoughts. I closed my eyes and prayed, "Lord, I don't know what's best. Guide me, and protect me if I choose wrong." No clear sign came, no voice, no prophetic dream. But the next morning, I woke with a lighter heart, as if an unseen hand rested on my shoulder, saying, "Go, I'm with you." God's protection doesn't always come as obvious miracles. Once, I nearly crashed while driving on a rain-slicked road. The car ahead stopped suddenly, and I slammed the brakes, heart pounding as my tires skidded. When I stopped safely, inches from their bumper, I trembled with gratitude. Before every trip, I pray simply, "Lord, protect me on the way." I don't know if He intervened directly or if it was luck, but I choose to believe I wasn't alone in that perilous moment. Guidance sometimes arrives unexpectedly. I once felt stuck in a job that left me unhappy, yet I feared leaving its stability. I prayed daily, "Lord, show me the path you want me to take." One day, chatting with an old friend, she casually mentioned an opportunity I'd never considered. I wasn't sure it was God's answer, but I felt a nudge to try. Stepping onto that new path, I realized His guidance isn't always a clear map, but subtle hints requiring trust and action. Yet, protection and guidance don't always feel immediate. Some days, I pray and meet silence like when a fractured relationship left me unsure how to heal it. I pleaded, "Lord, protect my heart, and show me what to do." No solution came instantly, and I wept often. Over time, I saw that silence was part of His guidance, teaching me patience, trust that He was still working, even when I couldn't see. This chapter of my faith journey taught me that praying for protection and guidance isn't about avoiding all hardship, but walking with courage, knowing I'm not alone. I don't need to understand every step or fight every storm myself. When I pray, I place myself in God's hands like a small bird seeking shelter under mighty wings. And though the road ahead may be hazy, I trust that with His protection and guidance, I'll never truly be lost. Chapter 7. Spiritual Connection. There are moments in life when I feel an emptiness words can't capture, not from loneliness in a crowd, but from a longing for a connection beyond what I can see or hear. It's a bond with God, with loved ones gone forever, and with my own soul. In those times, prayer becomes an invisible thread, drawing me closer to what I can't touch, but can feel with a heart full of faith. I recall an evening months after my grandmother's passing. She'd taught me to pray as a child, her simple whispers by my bedside each night. When she left, I felt a piece of me went with her. One night, overwhelmed by longing, I held her old handkerchief, its faint scent still lingering. I closed my eyes and prayed, "Lord, let me feel she's still near. Connect me to her, even just for this moment." I didn't expect her to appear, but in that stillness, a warmth filled me as if she smiled somewhere, and God bridged the gap between us. Spiritual connection with God often comes in the simplest ways. Once, I walked through a forest at dawn, mist cloaking the path. No phone, no sound but rustling leaves and distant birdsong. I stopped, breathed deeply, and whispered, "Lord, let me feel you in all this." No clear reply came, but I sensed a presence not through sight or sound, but a deep peace, as if He walked beside me in nature's vastness. Prayer, to me, isn't just words, it's opening my heart to listen and feel. But that connection isn't always easy to find. Some days, I feel distant from God, as if He's too high and I'm too small. After a big fight with my family, I sat alone, hurt and isolated. I wanted to pray but didn't know where to start. Finally, I said, "Lord, you feel far away. Pull me close." In the silence that followed, I recalled a hymn my grandmother sang, "Nearer, my God, to Thee." I hummed it, and each note drew me back, reminding me that no matter how I felt, He was there, waiting for me to return. Connection with those who passed isn't something I can prove, but something I choose to trust through faith. Once, visiting my grandfather's grave on his Memorial Day, a breeze carried the scent of dry grass. I touched the cold stone and prayed, "Lord, let him know I still remember, and keep him in your love." As I stood there, a small butterfly landed on my hand, then flew off. I smiled, unsure if it was a sign, but my heart felt lighter as if He sent comfort through God's hand. This chapter of my faith journey taught me that spiritual connection isn't something I can grasp or control. It's a gift I receive when I pray with an open heart. I don't need to see God or hear the departed to believe they're near. Through prayer, I feel that invisible thread linking me to God, to the souls I love, and to myself. And each time I pray, I know that in His eternal love, no distance is too great, no separation is forever. Chapter 8, Words of Gratitude. Life isn't always warm sunshine or flower-strewn paths. But through its ups and downs, I've learned that even in the most ordinary moments, there's something worth pausing to give thanks for. Prayer isn't just how I ask God for blessings, it's how I bow before Him, recognizing that every good thing, from grand miracles to tiny joys, is a gift from His love. I remember a spring morning when I woke earlier than usual. The sun was rising, gilding the dewdrops on the grass outside. I held a warm coffee mug, sitting on the doorstep, and felt gratitude well up within me. Nothing remarkable had happened, no big news, no new achievements, but I sensed the beauty of that moment. I closed my eyes and prayed, "Lord, I thank You for this new day, for the breath I still have, for the sunlight and the small things I often overlook." It wasn't a long prayer, but it lightened my heart, as if I'd shed an unseen burden. Gratitude doesn't always come easily, especially in hard times. There was a period when I lost my job, money was tight, and each day felt like a fight to stay afloat. I slipped into complaining, wondering why God didn't help. But one evening, watching rainfall outside my window, I thought of the roof still sheltering me, the simple meal that filled me, the family still by my side. I knelt and whispered, "Lord, I thank You for what I still have, even if I don't have all I want." That thanks didn't erase the struggle, but it shifted my view from burdens to lessons, from lack to a chance to trust Him more. I never forget to thank Him for big miracles, either. I recall the day my mother survived a dangerous surgery. I'd prayed endlessly beforehand, tears streaming as I begged God to keep her with us. When the doctor said she was fine, I couldn't stand from the overwhelming relief. That night, I prayed, "Lord, I thank You for hearing me, for giving her more time, for showing Your love through this miracle." That gratitude wasn't just words, it was a deep feeling, a song rising in my soul. But I've come to see that giving thanks isn't only for the good. Once, after a major work failure, I sat alone, steeped in disappointment. I didn't want to pray, but then I sighed and said, "Lord, I thank You for this failure, because I trust You have a reason, even if I don't understand." It was hard to say, but it taught me that even in scars, there's a trace of His guidance. Over time, I saw that failure wasn't the end, but the start of a path I hadn't expected. This final chapter of my faith journey taught me that words of gratitude are how I see life through the lens of love and grace. Prayer isn't just asking, it's offering up thanks for what I have, what I've lost, and what I trust God is still preparing. Each time I say, "Lord, I thank You," I honor Him and remind myself that in every moment of my life, I'm held by His love and care. From morning light to midnight tears, all are reasons to bow and say, "Thank You, because You are enough."